Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the 1 to 4 player game, The Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers trick-taking game, designed by Brian Bourmuller and published by Office Dog, who helped sponsor this video. Here, the Fellowship continues the quest to destroy the One Ring in the fires of Mount Doom. And I say continue because this is a standalone continuation of the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game, which we have a tutorial video for if you'd like to check that out as well. But you don't need to have played this to jump into the ongoing adventures here, where you'll find 18 new chapters that tell the next part of the story, each providing unique challenges. When finished, you can reset to play them all again, or play a mode which combines many of its most challenging elements into a single game. When you first open the box, you'll find the game divided into 3 sections. Everything you need for your first game, known as Chapter 19, is found in this section, which we can collect using this ribbon. When you beat the first chapter, you'll find chapters 20 to 28 in this section, and then chapters 29 to 36 here. We're going to start by learning everything you need to know to play your first game without spoiling what comes in later chapters, allowing you to discover those surprises on your own. So, join me at the table and let's learn how to play. To begin, find this Chapter 19 story card and read its text. Then, flip it over and take note of the character names in this area. Find these characters and ensure that the ones named Legolas and Gimli are flipped to the side for your number of players. We'll assume we have 3 players in this video. You use these sides in a 1 or 4 player game, and these sides in a game with 2 or 3 players. There are special rules for 2-player games that we'll cover at the end of this video, as well as briefly summarize the solo mode. By the way, you'll find 6-player reference cards at the bottom of the deck. Most are for the 3 or 4 player game, and we'll deal 1 to each player, returning any extras back to the box. Looking at your chapter card, you'll find it has an asterisk by certain character names, and you'll set one of these star tokens on each of those characters, leaving any extra tokens nearby. All the remaining cards make up the main deck and have this back, and I think it would help to quickly go through these. Most of the cards come in one of 4 different types, also known as suits. Each suit has its own color and symbol in this area, and they're known as hills, mountains, forests, and shadows. Every one of these cards also has a value known as its rank. These ranks go from 1 to 8, and within each suit, you'll find exactly 1 copy of each numbered rank. The main deck also contains 1 white and 1 black tower, as well as 3 orcs, and you'll find a reminder of the card distribution within the deck in the area here on this side of your player aid. Now shuffle all the cards from the main deck, dealing 1 face-up near the chapter card. This is known as the lost card, but if you reveal either the white or the black tower, deal a new lost card until you get something else, and then shuffle these back into the deck after. Either way, now deal the rest of the main deck to the players according to the player count shown here in the rulebook. So 12 cards to each player in a 3-player game. Keeping in mind, we'll look at the unique elements of the 2-player game later on. You'll examine your own cards and must keep them a secret from the other players. However, if you're holding the white tower, you should now tell the rest of the table that you have it. As that player, you would now collect the Aragorn character to put in front of yourself along with this white tower token. Then, starting at the Aragorn player's left and going clockwise around the table, each other player picks one of the remaining characters. Any character with a star token must be chosen during this process, but they don't have to be picked first. So if the next player picked Legolas, the final person in our 3-player game must pick Boromir. But in our example, we'll say the next player picks Boromir and the 3rd player picks Legolas. Why you might pick one character over another is usually based on the cards you're holding in your hand. And that will make more sense once we know more of the rules. Any unchosen characters you return to the box, and each player should now remove any star token on their chosen character, setting all of those tokens and the black tower to the side. Then, starting with Aragorn and going clockwise around the table, each person with a character that has set up actions indicated by this icon, must resolve those related instructions. This reminds the Aragorn player that they should have the White Tower token, and then it says Aragorn must exchange with any character. Setup instructions are not optional and must be resolved if possible. Anytime a player must perform an exchange, they first pass any one card of their choice from their hand to the indicated player. In this case, we can choose anyone, and maybe I'll choose Boromir, who then adds that card to their hand. Then they must pass any one card of their choice back, which could even be the card they just received. Just ensure none of the other players can see which cards were exchanged. And notice, Aragorn cannot exchange the White Tower card. Also, it says Aragorn will lead the first trick, which is something we'll learn about soon. You'll notice Boromir doesn't have any setup actions, but Legolas does. Legolas must perform an exchange with Gimli or Aragorn. In our 3-player game, Gimli isn't being used, so Legolas would have to exchange with Aragorn. Sometimes setup instructions or other effects might refer to a character you haven't seen a card for yet, and that just means they'll be revealed in a later chapter. So again, only resolve instructions you can and ignore the rest. Otherwise, that's the setup. In The Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers trick-taking game, you and the other players will be engaging in a style of play often referred to as a trick-taking game. If you're not familiar with those, don't worry. Together, we'll cover everything you need to know. In the game, each player will have a personal goal found beside the star symbol here on their character card. Oftentimes, these will refer to winning a certain number of tricks, which we'll learn about soon, or about winning certain types of cards. For example, the Legolas player needs to win 6 or more cards from the forest suit, or instead, only 4 or more of them if you have a 4-player game. The chapter we've set up is played over the course of a single round, and a round is made up of what are known as multiple tricks. During a single trick, each person will play just one card, and the first person to go is known as the lead player. As it says on Aragorn's card, they lead the first trick. So that player picks any one card from their hand to play face up in the center of the table. This is known as playing a card into the trick. The suit found on this card is also known as the lead suit. So here, forests were led for the trick. Now going in clockwise order, each other person must play a card into the trick. But what they play must match the suit that led the trick if possible. This is known as following suit. The Boromir player is next, so if they have a forest card, they must play it, and they do. They have a few options, really, and so they can pick any one of them, and we'll say they pick this one to follow suit with. The Legolas player is next, but they don't have any forest cards in their hand. When it's impossible to follow suit, you can play any card you have, and maybe they choose this one. After each player has added a single card to the trick, you check to see who won it. The winner is the person who played the highest ranked card in the lead suit. Here, Aragorn led with a forest card, and this was the forest card played with the highest rank, so the Boromir player wins the trick. Once you've determined who won a trick, they collect the cards from it and set them face down in front of themselves. Then that player starts a new trick, playing a card from their hand as the lead suit with everyone else following. And you'll continue playing tricks like this, with the winner of each one collecting it and leading the next one. As players gain multiple tricks, it's a good idea to offset them like this so you can easily see how many tricks each player has. Now, you'll remember I said the highest rank played in the lead suit always wins the trick. But there are 2 exceptions. Remember how in the last example, this player did not have any cards in hand from the lead suit, and that meant they could play any card from their hand. They chose this, which isn't from the lead suit, so they could not win the trick. But let's say they had instead chosen to play this Black Tower card. As it says here, this wins any trick it's played into, unless the White Tower is played into the same trick. The White Tower is not in this trick, so the Legolas player wins it, since that's the ability of the Black Tower. It always wins the trick, unless the White Tower was also played into it. Speaking of which, the White Tower is similar. It wins any trick it's played into unless the Black Tower was also played into that trick. So in this example, if Aragorn led with the Forest card and Boromir did not have any and they chose to play this White Tower card, then No matter what other cards might have been played into the trick, the white tower wins. Now, Legolas here also could not follow suit, but if they had played the black tower card instead, neither of these can win. Effectively, the towers cancel each other out, and then the highest card of the lead suit wins as usual. Now, I just want to remind you, you can't play a tower if you have another card in your hand that would match the lead suit. But if you're leading the trick, you can play a tower as the first card. If you do this, since towers don't have a suit, the next card played can be any suit. For example, you don't have to follow with the other tower if you have it. Maybe this player instead puts down the 5 of shadows. The first suit played into the trick would then be the lead suit for that trick. That means this player would now have to play a shadow card if they have one. I should also point out, as soon as a person plays or reveals a tower card, they take the matching token and set it in front of themselves. As we'll see, knowing who has the tower cards and when they were played can be important. Also, this is why Aragorn begins with the white tower token, because the player who was dealt the white tower card at the beginning of the game gains Aragorn, so we already know who has it. The black token will be claimed by the person who later plays the black tower card into a trick. The last type of card you might have in your hand are the Orcs. Now, there are a few different elements to these, but first notice these cannot win a trick. So if these were the cards played, we know this person will not win the trick. And in the very unlikely case that only towers and orcs are played, no one wins the trick, and you just set it aside with the lead player from the previous trick leading the next one. Also notice this effect says you cannot lead a trick with an orc. So if this player was beginning the trick, they could not start it by playing this orc. However, if you're not careful, you may end up with only orcs in your hand and be forced to lead with one. And as it says here, if you're forced to lead with an orc, you lose the chapter. And if any one player loses the chapter, all of the players lose the chapter. With that in mind, let's talk about how to win the chapter. Each player has a character they control who will have their own unique goal indicated beside this star icon. For example, Legolas is trying to win 6 or more forest cards. As we had mentioned earlier, you put the tricks you win face down in front of you. So when the chapter is over, the Legolas player would reveal all of the cards in the tricks they won, counting up how many of them are forests. If they have at least 6, then they've completed their goal. Now, although you're advised to keep your tricks face down, you are allowed to keep any cards relevant to your goal face up. For example, as the Legolas player wins tricks, they could keep any forest cards in them face up and separate to help everyone see how many more they need for their goal. The player controlling Boromir has this goal, which says that before the black tower card is played, they must win 2 or more tricks. Then, once the black tower has been played, Boromir cannot win any more tricks, or the players all lose the chapter. So the players at the table will need to avoid playing the black tower into a trick until after the Boromir player has won at least 2 tricks, as they have in this case. The Boromir player can even win the trick the black tower was played into, but it does not count towards the 2 they need to have already won before it was played. And remember, the person who played the black tower must take this token, which reminds everyone that the black tower has been played. And then from that point on, the Boromir player cannot win any more tricks for the rest of the round. Next, let's look at Aragorn's goal. Aragorn, along with whoever ends up playing the black tower card, must win the majority of the tricks played during the chapter. Now keep in mind, unless the Aragorn player is holding the black tower in their hand, they won't know who is holding it, because that player is not allowed to announce they have it. Once the black tower has been played, then Aragorn and that player will know that they must have the combined majority of tricks when the chapter ends. This is why it can be handy to offset each trick you win, as it makes them easier to count. So if it was the end of the chapter, and this person had played the black tower, they add their tricks to Aragorn's. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tricks, compared to the 1, 2, 3, 4 other tricks won. So they have the majority, and Aragorn's goal was met. It's also met if their combined number of tricks were to tie with the rest that were won. In this first chapter of the game, if anyone is playing with Gimli, you now know enough of the rules to understand his goal as well. Remember, to win, every player needs to reach their goal by the end of the round. So while you're trying to accomplish your own goal, you also need to be helping everyone else complete theirs too. As soon as a player fulfills their goal, and it's clear it cannot be failed in later tricks, they put one of these star tokens on their card as a reminder to everyone that their goal is complete. Tricks will continue until the cards in everyone's hands have all been played and won, which ends the round. At the end of a round, if every player has completed the goal on their character, they are said to have finished all the chosen characters. And as it's indicated here, the game has ended in a victory. This is also known as a short chapter. However, if even one goal is incomplete, the players all lose. And remember, no matter what anyone's goals are, you automatically lose if someone is forced to lead with an orc. When you lose, reset the chapter and try again. But once you win a chapter, you'll advance to the next one and take on its new challenges. You'll find chapter 20 by lifting this cover. Here on top, we have its chapter card, and you'll draw cards from this section, stopping once you get to the next chapter's card. To avoid ruining any surprises, I'll keep these cards mostly covered, but you may find new characters, new rules, and new types of cards. The details for any new elements can be found by checking this section of the rulebook when you come to them, and there's also a handy guide here with additional answers to questions you might have for each of the future chapters. We're not going to go into all of those details here, as discovering those new elements on your own is part of the fun. That said, there are a few other general rules we should go over. First of all, during any game, you cannot discuss or show the cards you have in your hand. And during setup, you cannot express a character preference you might have, as that could reveal something about the cards you're holding. That said, you can remind people of your character's goal, special rules, the status of goals, and discuss strategies or anything else based on information everyone can publicly see. I should also point out that in some future games, the victory conditions like we see here will be listed as long. Players will choose characters from the available options as usual, ensuring any with an asterisk are always chosen. But at the end of the round, if you've completed the goals of all the characters you played with, set them aside. Then reset the deck and play another round of the same chapter. Players are free to pick characters they completed previously, but don't have to, because your goal is to keep playing in succeeding rounds until you've completed the goal of every character listed on that chapter. Any character with an asterisk must be chosen each round. And you can even choose a character you already finished. And you might do this because your hand of cards works best for them. Either way, as long as you always complete your chosen character's goals, you'll keep playing until you've completed every character for that chapter at least once. But if during any round you fail the goal of any character that was picked, you lose the entire chapter and then start over. The rules leave how you do this up to you. You can start the chapter over from scratch, setting every character's goal as incomplete, or keep any you have completed in previous rounds as complete, starting just from the last round you failed. Again, I should remind you that as you advance through the chapters, new cards will enter play and new challenges will be introduced, and you'll want to refer to these additional rules, and especially the specific chapters' further details, as they will help with anything you're unsure about. I'd like to avoid spoiling future surprises from the game, but if you'd like to pause these additional rules pages, I won't stop you. Okay, with that understood, I should mention, when you complete all 18 chapters in this box, the game isn't over. In the rulebook, you'll find instructions for how to keep playing by going through all the chapters and collecting cards with a black-backed number box. These number boxes are found in each card's corner. You can also use these to reset the entire game when you're done if you want to play all of the chapters again from the beginning. Just put all the cards back in numerical order. If you want to play the ongoing game, take all of the black-backed numbered cards and follow the instructions here to create a single, challenging game you can replay over and over and attempt to improve on. With all of that covered, we should now take a look at the rule changes when you're playing with just two people. First, you deal a lost card as usual, and then you deal out 3 hands of cards, 1 to each player, and an extra that you arrange using this diagram found on the 2-player reference. To do this, deal a row of 3 with the ones on either end face up. Then deal 4 face down, overlapping the previous cards like I'm doing here, and then deal the remaining cards face up in this way so that you've created a pyramid. This will act as a third player's hand in the game, and you just pick an area on the table between the 2 players to deal it to each time. The first person to be assigned a character will also control the pyramid. Now, as we know, the person dealt the white tower card is assigned Aragorn first, so they gained the first character and will control the pyramid. They also take the white tower token as usual. Now, as before, going clockwise from Aragorn, the next player picks one of the remaining characters, and then when it comes to the pyramid's turn, the Aragorn player selects a remaining character to assign to it. During the game, the Aragorn player will also make the choices for and control this pyramid character. However, when the cards were first dealt out, if neither of the players ended up with the white tower card, it means it must either be face up or face down within the pyramid. If so, assign the Aragorn character to the pyramid. And then the player seated to the pyramid's right will then control the pyramid in that case. Either way, the pyramid can be exchanged with during setup, but the character controlling the pyramid can only give a card back from the face-up ones in the bottom row, or they can return the one that was just given as usual. If they end up taking the new card, then it will go face-up in place of the card that was exchanged. If a character is assigned to the pyramid which has instructions that add extra cards to its hand during setup, which might happen in future chapters, the extra cards are placed to the left or right of its bottom row. Now, during the game, when it comes to the pyramid's turn to play a card into a trick, the person controlling it is only able to play a card from it that has no other cards on top of it. So at the start of the game, the card played can only come from this row, and they can pick any valid card from here. So in this case, either of these 2 cards, and maybe they play this one. As the game goes on, once a card has nothing on top of it, you flip that card face up, and it becomes a new one that you can now choose to play on future turns. Otherwise, the 2-player game follows all the same rules. There are also rules for solo play detailed here in the rulebook, where you'll control 4 characters and a partial hand for each, playing cards from them to try and accomplish each character's goals, gaining new cards for each character after each trick. In this way, you have to make decisions based on what cards you can see, knowing that more of them will be revealed as the round goes on. But the solo rules I'll leave for you to discover on your own. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play the Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers trick-taking game. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime we post a new video. And if you'd like to support us directly, you can join our Patreon team, which I'll have linked below. But until next time, thanks for watching.